Hey everybody, Nate Carter here with today's Cornerstone Connection Daily Devotional. I was praying for my student with our Pray For Me campaign the other day, and this scripture came forward as a model for us to pray. It's Hebrews 12, 1 through 2, and I noticed something I had never noticed before, and I wanted to share it with you. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. And what stood out to me for the first time was the word endure. We read from this scripture that the journey of following Jesus and the journey of life is not a sprint, but rather a marathon. And part of a marathon is enduring deep pain and exhaustion. But what I hadn't noticed before was that the word enduring shows up again as Jesus talks, the writer talks about Jesus enduring the cross. So let us run with endurance in the same way that Jesus endured the cross. Now, Jesus, as he was hung upon that cross, he was enduring deep shame and scorn from those around him. He was enduring a world that had rejected him. He was enduring, most notably, the weight of all the world's sin resting upon his shoulders, and at the same time as the Father turned his face away from him. Jesus was enduring the worst pain imaginable to humanity. And in the same way, we're called to endure. I think that gives us a model for what this endurance looks like, what it may really cost us to run the race of following Jesus. The Bible promises that we will have hardship. It's a guarantee. And part of what we may have to endure is the scorn of others, just as Jesus did, of people mocking us for the way that we live, of those around us engaging in a lifestyle of hedonism and pleasure and chasing after desire, where we have committed ourselves to living the righteous way that God calls us to. It may mean giving up things that otherwise we would have pursued in order to follow Jesus. Derision from others. It's just the list goes on and on of what it means to endure in order to follow Jesus to the end of the race. Now, I've never run a marathon, but I have read about marathon runners and watched marathon runners. And if you've run a marathon, you know that there's this moment called the wall, which it's not quite the end of the race. You actually still have several miles yet to go, but it's the point at which your body is trying to shut down, and it takes every ounce of commitment within you in order to keep one foot going in front of the other. And when you hit the wall, that's all you can do is just run with endurance. Just force yourself to keep moving. And this scripture reminds us that there will be times in our marathon of life where we're going to hit the wall and we're going to feel like giving up. But just as Jesus didn't give up when he was facing the cross, neither should we. But rather, Jesus kept his eyes focused forward, focused on what was about to happen, focused on the fact that he was about to save the world from its sins, focused on the fact that he was about to be raised from the dead, and that he was going to live eternally with God's children. With his eyes focused forward on what was ahead, the joy set before him, he was able to endure the cross. And in the same way, as we run our marathon, we keep our eyes not focused on our feet, not focused on the painful steps in front of us, but rather with our eyes up, looking forward at the end of the race, at the tape at the end of the race that we get to triumphantly run through when we finish, when we'll be with Jesus forever in his glory. So I want to encourage you today that as we know that this world has difficulties, as we know that this marathon is going to be painful, as we know that there will be the wall that we have to endure, or maybe many times over, that there's a joy that's set before us too. And it's worth the endurance. It's worth paying the pain in order to experience the joy at the other end. So I hope that encourages you wherever you are in your journey here today. We'll see you next time on the Cornerstone Connection.